Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, the iconic 1965 hit as delivered by the legendary gentleman whom we're about to speak with here and spend our final segment on Connecticut Morning, the legendary Mel Carter, actor, singer, performer, manager, and just a super guy I had the privilege of speaking with last week. And Mel has had such an incredibly varied career. He has been in, he's been on the radio singing. He's been on a number of television shows. He's managed artists. He's met some of the greats, people whom folks like me can only marvel at the fact that we're able to listen to their recorded music and watch their filmed work. And I will be speaking with Mel in a minute. Mel, do we have Mel? We do not have Mel. A little bit of background on Mel. He was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and started to sing at the tender age of 4 years old when his grandmother held him up to a department store voice box, and from there he got involved in singing in the churches and around Cincinnati. And the rest is quite a long history, and I believe we have Mel. Mel, it's Tony DeAngelo on Connecticut Morning. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, man?
Oh, wonderful. Listen, I can't tell you what an honor this is. We're just chatting with our audience and telling them how you got your start in singing, and that's a very interesting story. Perhaps you'd want to share that with us.
When I started, I was like maybe 4 years old, 6 years old, singing in my church. They called it the baby choir, the baby choir at New Prospect Baptist Church. I remember the name of the church. Isn't that funny? Wait, the reason why I say that's funny because when you try to remember things back that far.
Sure.
But anyway, that's how I really got my start. My mother, has always been a very person that's been rooted in the church, and so therefore when she went, I went, and my dad. So that's how it really got started.
And Cincinnati, now that was. I imagine at that time that was sort of like a factory town, and when I think of Cincinnati, I think of the Reds, and these days the Bengals, and I guess you became a baseball fan as time went on, as I understand it.
I was, but I can tell you the other information about Cincinnati. Cincinnati was the Queen City of the West, the twin city to Rome, because we have 7 hills, and it was the hog capital of the world. It's the slaughterhouses were there, and it was the home of Procter & Gamble that we cleaned the nation. And the Cincinnati milling machine was there. We had to learn all of that in school, and I never forgot.
Isn't that something? Now, when you were coming out of Cincinnati, you were singing gospel music, and what I was trying to get a handle on is, I imagine at one point, as just about everybody does, you moved west, and I didn't know if the singing came before the acting, or the acting came before the singing, or it came together, or how you were discovered, or,
actually the singing came before, because before I went to the West Coast, I had gone to Chicago. That's where my formidable years were in the gospel field with Robert Anderson, Mahalia Jackson, and that's when I met Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers, because we were all on those gospel packages that like the rock and roll packages.
Sure.
Had multiple acts. Well, they had those, and still do in the gospel field. And I was part of that package with the group, and that's how I met Sam on one of those tours. And then, later on, I moved to the West Coast.
I understand. Now, we had discussed, Mr. Cooke last week. I will refer to him as such, as I stand in great awe of admiration. Obviously, you knew him as Sam. And kind of restating the obvious here, but what kind of an influence was he for you, meeting him, working with him, the guidance he may have given you, and the friendship that you had with him?
You know what? Sam was more like a big brother. He mentored all of the people at the label that we were, you know, where we were. It was a big family, and we didn't think of him as a father. We thought of him as our big brother because that's the care that he gave us. With me, I was his protege, and I sounded a lot like Sam, and possibly I emulated him. That's what he saw in me. And I mean, he was a great guy. He was just a great guy and a stand-up guy. You know?
And his voice is, you know, wherever you are through so many pictures and news events, you'll hear a change is going to come, or you send me, or just some of the pieces he did, and he really is a part of the ingrained American culture, in my estimation, Mel. So much so that many people have heard his work and probably don't even know who he is, at least in this generation.
Well, you know, and we have to say that Sam was an entrepreneur, and long before full-time was ever discovered, he himself had a successful recording company, and he was the only black artist that had a recording label that crossed over into the pop field, and was just a group, broke through the English invasion then, and that was a song that I had done called When a Boy Falls in Love,
right,
which he wrote and did as a demo that they released later on RCA Victor of him, not mine.
Understand.
Mine was released, and it was went top 20, and for an American artist then to break through all the English invasion groups that were coming here and had, you know, on the charts.
And it's, I could only imagine, especially if you're me, you can only imagine now. You're a young guy. You're making your way in music. You're noted. You have fans. You have people who pretty much, you know, will follow you here and there. I mean, this must have been incredibly heady stuff for you, I would think, going way back when.
Well, you know what? Yes, it was. Of course it was. But the fact is that I've been singing all my life. So, and some of the people that I was around, like Otis Williams and the Charms, are from Cincinnati. And there are a lot of other groups that we sung. We still, you know, we used to have those corner groups, you know,
right,
the doo-wop groups, and sung together. So it was like everybody that was in my little clique or our circle of people, that's what they did. So you know, more or less, when you're in that circle of people, you kind of like think everybody does that.
It's
at least, you know, like at least for the moment, anyway.
Yeah, it's really something. Now, I imagine through all of this time, you probably became friendly with Dick Clark.
Yes, doing those the Dick Clark tours, we did, I think, maybe about 32 weeks of that. Not all consecutively, but I remember when I did have When a Boy Falls in Love through and The Richest Man Alive, and then came Hold Me, Throw Me, Kiss Me, and
right,
all three of those songs, I was a part of the Dick Clark Caravan of Stars.
And how did you find Dick when you worked with him?
He was a very gracious man, a very gracious and giving man. In the beginning, you know, when you started doing interviews and stuff with him, I was kind of quiet. But as I got to know him, and as the records, the different records made the charts, you know, you emerge. And he knew that. He knew that about the artists that he was working with, and he, you know, like he was part of bringing you along, you know, opening up your the talent that you had to interview with him and give you that information. And possibly the reason why I'm running off at the mouth now was because of Dick Clark.
Oh, listen.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, you certainly did. And I can only imagine, we talk about hold me, thrill me, kiss me, and I'm sure you've been approached by so many people, perhaps hundreds if not thousands through the years, that will tell you where they were when they first heard that song or some memory with that song. Let me give you mine. I can remember, this is going back 20 years ago, and I was in Westport, Connecticut, which is, it's a coastal town in Connecticut. It's known as, quote-unquote, one of the money towns. Now, my wife at the time, who's now deceased, and we couldn't afford to live there, so we would visit on occasions, and it was a Saturday night, and we were walking along the beach, and it was at the end of summer, my favorite time of the year. My wife had a lovely dress on. And it was just one of these moments that you wish you could freeze frame forever. Now, out of the blue, there's a gentleman driving down the road in a Pontiac convertible, little white Pontiac, an older gentleman. He's dressed for some reason, Mel, and I can't really figure this out to this day, in nautical attire. He's probably between the ages of 65 and 70. He has the captain's hat on. He has the blue double-breasted blazer with the military emblems. And out of this little Pontiac convertible is belting out into the whosoever will listen, hold me, thrill me, kiss me. And I thought, this is beautiful. And yet it was such a perfect moment for that song, but that's my moment. But I'm just curious, out of all the people that have come to you and said, Mel, I was here, I was there, one or two stories stick out in your mind as to people's recollections of that?
I'll tell you one story. When I was appearing in New York maybe 5 years ago, there was a guy who came up to me. He's a doctor of some sort, had said that he was thanking me, and I said, okay, and I kept listening, and he said, because it kept him sane when he was captured in Vietnam.
Holy cow.
The things that he used, the music, that song, kept him sane and kept him, I guess, alive, in a way. And that was the most unusual thing that I had ever heard about the song itself.
It's, and it just has such a enduring characteristic to it, and
one other thing too.
Sure.
The other thing too is that there are as many guys who like that song as well as the female population, and in terms of being a love song, most love songs are connected with females, but this song crossed over to both sides, to both the male population and the female population. I'm proud of that,
Yeah, it's just so, and I know, put it this way, and I say this, Mel, somewhat ashamedly, I was a kid that grew up in the movies. My father ran movies in Stamford, Connecticut, so I got in for free and I'd go. It's like ever since that all stopped, I haven't seen many movies. My second wife brought over, before we were married, a video of We Were Soldiers Once and Young. And the fact of all of the soldiers in the military encampment before they shipped out for Vietnam in 1965 were having a farewell party, and they were feeling good, and they were drinking and putting their arms around each other and their spouses and singing, which I guess had charted at the time in 1965, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me. And it just has that characteristic to it, which is unbelievable.
Yeah. Now, I think sometimes that I'm lucky to have a signature song like that, but sometimes it overshadows the fact that I did have many records after that in a row, All of a Sudden My Heart Sings, You,
right.
Love Is All We Need, Take Good Care of Her. There was a string of them all in a row, but Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me is the signature song, and that's the song that shines through. still played somewhere on a station in the world every day.
Every day.
Like every day. And the most recognizable thing about that is the string sweep that opens the record.
Yes.
You know.
It's really something. But as you say, you did a lot after that, and for a moment here, I looked. I studied your acting career. You know, having seen you, I studied your acting career over the weekend, and you worked with a incredible group of almost like a Hollywood Hall of Fame: Chuck Connors, Jack Klugman, Red Fox, Dick Van Dyke, Fred Dreyer. And you played a lot of varied roles. And I mean, what was your first, shall we say, experience in acting, and how did you like it, and who did you like working with?
Well, I hate to say any one particular person,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the one that stands out is Jack Klugman. When I did the show, he liked my comedic timing. So he liked working with me, so I did the show more than one or two times. Than working with Red Fox and Fred Dreyer. And, you know, like it's the parts that I played that, I don't know, I think that would be the more memorable part, because in medical shows, you know, you always have to do this, the words are like incredibly long, you know, and we got stuck. I mean, at least I got stuck on one of the episodes doing, you know, trying to say, and he told the writers, just take it out, let him say something, you know, like that we speak about every day. He said, that's even hard for me, you know. And he was just a very gentle, great actor that gave you a lot, so that you had to respond to him, you know, as an actor. And he liked the timing that I had, so that stands out right now. And all you other guys that I've worked with, I remember all the things about you too, okay?
Well, you know, it's just an honor to be chatting with you, and I imagine just an honor to be with the other folks that you had worked with in television. Now, we had gotten into a discussion, and we sort of mutually ended it saying, let's not throw our game in the bullpen. And we started to talk about the singers of yesterday versus the singers of today, and the fact of how, well, let me just mention this: Ella, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. There was that distinctive characteristic, Mel Carter, that distinctive characteristic of, I know it's that person, that signature branding. And we started to talk a little bit about the artists of today, and I'm going to let you finish the sentence as well. I should.
I just think that I don't have anything bad off to say about the artists of today, the musical artists of today. I just know that in a period of time in musical history, even way back, is that when you listen to the radio, you could tell, you could say, you knew that was a Sarah Vaughan, you knew that was a Doris Day, you knew that was a Frank Sinatra, you knew that was a Billy Eckstine, you knew all of these people. You said, oh wow, that's, or even when you went to the record store, you knew that person. Now, when they play it, oh, that sounds like, you know,
right?
Oh, that's just like, it's just a like. But in terms of before, when you heard a singer, it was, you knew who it was because of their, not only of their sound, but their diction, their everything about them. You know, and we don't have that today. I don't think we do.
It's yeah.
And but creativity is creativity, and that's I don't know, swear that. I just know that when I put on a record of an artist from, you know, a period of time, it sounds new to me. It sounds great. It sounds, you know, even the songs. You know, the songs, the story, they wrote material that had a beginning, a middle, and an ending. It told the story, and this doesn't crack me up right now.
I understand, and the fact that you know, there's such a body of work with so many of these greats. And you know, I don't think I asked you, who might be your personal favorites, if you can name a couple, maybe inspirations or people whom you marvel at their work to this day.
Okay. Again. Oh, you mean from then?
Yeah.
Or now?
From then, you know.
From then, I would have to. Out of all the people that I've named, one of the. I give you one of the most outstanding people that I have worked with, and that was Dinah Washington.
Wow.
I loved Dinah Washington.
Sure.
And I had the opportunity of working with her at Ciro's Supper Club here in the late 50s, right after I came in the early 60s. And that, which is no longer, but I guess everybody with the world famous Ciro's.
Sure.
I worked with her, and that is one of the most memorable things for me, you know, in terms of being with somebody. I almost had a chance before he got sick was to work with Frank Sinatra.
Oh.
Then I have my friends Dionne Warwick. God, there's so many people.
So many.
Nancy Wilson. See, if you start saying names and don't say everybody, then sooner or later, and the fact that Shirley Bassey and I did "This Is My Life"
Mm-hmm.
on Liberty Records, you know, like Johnny Mathis, who was the master of
Yeah.
the balladeers.
What else can you say?
Very, 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 very. One of my closest friends in the business now is Lenny Walsh. That's my buddy.
Lenny had quite a voice, and he sang some incredible ballads, and I remember them all.
He still has quite a voice.
God bless him.
I wrote a show called The Balladeers, you know,
Mhm.
Legends of Rock and Roll, The
Right.
Balladeers, and we did excerpts from it in Vegas at the Cannery, and they had to open. They opened the gates. They opened the room seats 800 people. But when you open the thing, it's an outside arena, and in an outside arena in this club, okay? And they normally don't open it up except for rock, you know, for the rock stars. But Lenny and I, we had like 2,200 people. They had to open it up.
Oh.
And I mean, it was like, it worked. Everything about the show that I wrote. We come together, sing together, and plus we do our individual stuff, and we play ourselves, but we play characters, you know, so to make it more interesting, you know. And when you come to see us, it's not just Lenny and Mel. It's Lenny being the character he is, whatever, and Mel being the character I am.
Fantastic. And you know, let us not leave with what's happening with you today, where we can see you, what you're doing, what you're involved in, and what we can keep an eye on as we go forward into the future.
Okay, you can go to my site, which is www.mel-carter.com, and you can get listen and look at the various things that I've done over the couple of few years. The latest thing is the Mel Carter, the other standards, and CD before that was the Heart and Soul of Mel Carter, which we visited some songs that are standards, but there aren't the Gershwins, the Harold Arlens, or the songs that you hear all the time as standards, but they are the standards. Then we have a live video, and if you go to CD Baby, it's there, iTunes, all of that stuff. But we're still working on a thing now that's about to be released. It's vintage Mel Carter classic performances from 1975 to 1995. And in this, I found some material, bonus material, where I'm singing with my mother. And my mother was a powerhouse singer.
Holy
we sing gospel.
cow. Mel, I don't believe this. We're out of time. Please do us a favor. As you're doing these endeavors that you're in, please, we'll see it on Facebook. We'll put it up on our site. We'll message it. And you are a dear man. You've come to this humble show today and given of yourself. And we are so grateful. And God bless. Continued good health, continued success. And we'd be honored to speak with you again soon, my friend.
I thank you and thank all of you out there listening to this young man right here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mel, God bless. Have a great day.
All right. You too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that's the legendary Mel Carter. We will be back for our closing remarks in our 5-guest show. Unbelievable and amazing, but only here on Connecticut Morning Do You Get This. We'll see you in a moment, right back after this.